We are live.
Oops.
So we have all members of the Public Service Committee present. And I need a motion to suspend all council rules that require in-person meetings and in-person voting.
I'll make that motion to suspend all council rules regarding in-person voting.
Okay.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, if I could get a motion for approval of our previous meeting minutes from our.
Motion.
Swirsky,
Motion for approval of our previous minutes.
okay. Can I get a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay. We have. One, two, three, four. We have 4 pieces in front of us today. The first one is ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service or his designee after receiving proposals to enter into a contract or contracts for the upgrade of the HVAC system at the Summit Lake Community Center and the management of such project and declaring an emergency. Mr. Luttle?
Thank you, Madam Chairman, members of the committee. Summit Lake Community Center, we deemed late this winter, early fall, that the rooftop air conditioner was no longer beyond its useful life and we were going to replace it. Well, this system has a coil in it from the boiler for hot water heat. We have actually used Akron Energy Systems, AES, who run our steam plant, to help us evaluate a lot of our community center, a lot of our city buildings. So we have leveraged not only our own engineers, but their engineers to look at this system, break it down, and what we've decided to do, they're going to manage the project for us instead of bidding this out with a contractor. We are going to actually place this unit on the ground on a pad instead of the roof, which will save the roof. And by doing this, we are going to purchase a unit not only that will accept the hot water heat, but also will have cooling. The gym at Summit Lake has never had air conditioning. So this will do a couple things. Not only condition the space in the summertime, which will, for social events, especially in the weeks we've had last week and the next 2, to have air conditioning. The people actually using the gym for activities, basketball or whatever activity, will have air conditioning. And if we open the community center for a cooling center, we will be able to expand it into the gym, which we didn't do previously. Obviously, if we use it as a warming center, the gym was always warm, but this will allow us, for the same budgetary number, we'll be able to cool the gym. So we're pretty excited with that. And just one quick note, I don't want to keep you, Chairman, but we did officially go on the new steam plant. I know most of you have toured it. So we are totally out of BFG. Those boilers are now shut down. We're real happy with that. Both hospitals been notified and things are going very well down there. So thank you.
Are there any questions from committee members? Any questions from council members? Any questions? No? I have a question for you, Chris.
Yes,
Sure.
yes.
What's the time? 1 second, Linda. When are they planning on starting this? I know they said something about the gym not being able to be used because of it being warm there. So do they plan on starting on this soon?
Well,
Or-
they asked for a copy of the legislation this morning, and
Okay.
they didn't know if we were going to pass it tonight, which I told them that it should be passed tonight. So they will be ordering the equipment most likely, if not tomorrow, this week.
Okay, okay. Councilwoman Amobian?
Yes, Mr.
Chris is fine.
Chris, I'm terrible.
The language I'm supposed to use.
I'm under the weather, Chris. But anyway, let me ask you this.
For a
What-
special meeting.
what made this possible to do it on the ground as opposed to from the roof?
Well, I mean, if we would have bid this project and really just looked at, okay, replace that unit, what does that unit do? And since we've engaged them and they're trying to expand, not only what they're doing at the steam plant, but helping us leverage all our assets, they looked at it and said, listen, why would we put that back on the roof? First, it's maintenance to the roof. If we set it here on the ground, run the ductwork up, we'll be able to cool the gym. We'll be able to save money on the roof, the crane and everything else, and purchase this unit, which has cooling in it, and be able to do this. So they've gone out to both golf course facilities. They're looking at energy management systems there, because obviously we don't use those as much in the winter. But also our city buildings. We're going to try to leverage as much through energy management to save money on our utility bills to help pay for some of these things.
Yeah, I'm pleased with that. I'm just curious as to why the ground as opposed to the roof, because it appears that most businesses have their units on top of the building as opposed to the ground. Do
Well,
we have to do some
typically,
additional?
yeah.
Are there
Typically,
additional?
typically when you have a building and you have a roof, it's tough to run ductwork, but when you have an open space like a gym, it's not as hard. But when you have to start cutting walls and going through floors, it makes it.
Okay. Will there be additional maintenance that we have to do to keep it on the ground?
Well, obviously with a unit with cooling, there'll be extra cooling, maintenance that they didn't have in the summer, but that comes with any new system that you're expanding the uses of it, sure. So not much more, and they're going to help us set up a good maintenance plan as far as instead of just set of reactive, we're going to be proactive in some of this maintenance that we're doing to extend the life of this equipment.
Very good. And it's not going to cost us anything more, you said?
Well, the budget we had set forth, in the capital budget, by setting the unit on the ground, we do have to pour a concrete pad, but saving the crane and the extra work, no, there's no more outlay in the capital budget needed.
Very good. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Councilman Freeman?
Chris, do we already have lines for the water ran out to the community center in Summit?
Yeah, the boiler's there, so they're just going to extend them to where the new location is, yes. Because it has hydronic heat in the gym now.
Okay,
Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Okay, can I get a motion for suspension of the rules?
I'll make that motion to suspend the rules.
I have a motion. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a second from Swirsky. All in favor?
Aye.
Those against? Okay, the ayes have it. Our next ordinance authorizing the purchasing agent to enter into a contract without the formality of advertising for bids to purchase services and equipment for the PSX Inc. to upgrade revenue control equipment at all city-owned parking decks and declaring an emergency. Mr. Little?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Madam Chairman, members of the committee, we've been looking at this project for about 3 or 4 years now. So our 8 parking garages, we don't have a consistent parking system in any of them. Cascade is older than Broadway and Morley is older than State Street, but none of them really talk to each other. So we've put this together. I could tell you what's going on this year with the budget and with COVID. Most of this money will be spent in 2021, but we want to get some of these things ordered. We can't even, card readers aren't even working at Cascade currently. So this will allow us better revenue monitoring. It will allow us to be able to change rates on special events. It will actually reduce the number of people in the decks that are operating them or monitoring them for us, be more pay and lane, more credit card. We have pretty much installed all the fiber optic to all the decks already, but a lot of the credit card capabilities that we had was a cell phone, and it was just so slow. And if any of you have been down to an event in the evening and we can, and you're, everybody that's in that garage, they call on Monday and says, I was in the garage for 2 hours trying to get out. Well, it might only been 20 minutes, but to them, it seemed like 2 hours. So this will enhance our system, make it better for our customers all the way around.
Okay. Question, Chris. So, but there will still be a live attendant there for those people who don't have credit cards and debit cards, correct?
Not 24/7, because if you have, there'll be times where monthly parkers just need a pass and then you can pay in lane. But there will be cameras where maybe we have a person, let's say in the Broadway deck, that could talk to the city center deck. So there's not a live person in both decks, but they can communicate. And if it gets to the point where, maybe they just unable to make the transaction work, the camera will be able to lift the gate. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So it'll help in that respect.
Okay, got it. Okay, any questions from committee members? Councilman Lombardo?
Yes, Mr. Little, it sounds like looks like a top of the line system. Just wondering if there would be a situation where I'm a monthly parker at the Broadway deck. Would my card or would my pass, whatever unit that I have, would that allow me to get into another deck at like Morley?
That's a great question. Yes, it will, but we haven't established what those fees will be. We could allow that from the attorneys that are going from deck to deck, maybe court to court or different businesses.
Mhm.
So if they pay a monthly in, let's say, the super block where First Energy's building is, and they want to run over to Morley to court, yes, instead of getting 2 key cards, this will allow them to do that. Now, we haven't established, will they pay another $5 a month to have that flexibility to use 2 decks? We're not sure, but this system will allow that.
Well, that'd be great. I mean, providing, there's space. I mean, I don't know if
Yes.
both decks are sold out,
Yes.
So, we'll do those decks. I'm sure they have 10 guest spots as opposed to, monthly parkers. I mean,
Well,
there's no doubt.
No,
public
what we
access.
find is every day, even though if we sell the deck totally out, there's always people that are not working that day. And obviously that's been exaggerated tremendously this summer, but people working from home. But no, there's always space in these decks. Probably
Okay.
our most transient deck is Morley, just because of the court system, people coming and going every day.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions from committee members? Any questions from council members? Councilman Mallett?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Little. I guess the one question I had was, has there been any discussion of the contactless payments or the ability to use like mobile phones like Apple Pay or other things like that, since we're upgrading the infrastructure?
I'm pretty sure that we're going to be able to expand this to do that like we do with our parking meters. We have a mobile pay where you can use your phone to pay. So this system, especially with now people living downtown, and maybe the hotel at Main and Market, to prepay for the parking and then be able to use your phone as a voucher to get in and out.
That's great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Councilwoman Amobian?
Yes, Mr. Little, I know your name now. Is there a possibility that anybody would get stuck in there without being able to get out if they don't have, cards and all of that?
Well, that's what I said to Chairman Samples was, if they're not physically in the booth, they'll be able to hit a button and it'll go to what we call a command center, and there'll be a person in the command center to open that gate for them if they can't get out.
I see, okay. Would they pay later or something?
I think we could take their name and yes, they could pay later. That doesn't happen very often though.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions from council members? Okay, can I get a motion for suspension of the rule?
I'll make a motion to suspend the rules.
Second.
Councilman Lombardo, second from Councilman Swirsky, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, ayes have it. Our next piece. Ordinance authorizing Director of Public Service through the Office of Purchasing Agent without the formality of advertising for bids to enter into a contract with Protect Oil Field Services to plug and abandon city gas well numbers 9 and 13 and to remove the surface equipment from city gas well number 3, approving the specifications therefore and declaring an emergency. Mr. Leto?
Thank you, Madam Chairman, members of committee. Some of you may remember, I think it actually was late of 18, we brought a piece of legislation to cap one of these wells. About 30 years ago, 30 plus years ago, down at WRF, we drilled these gas wells. And what they did, we were able to use a certain amount of gas to offset our operation down at the water reclamation facility. It never sustained the full use of what we use down there. Well, for about the last 4 years, they haven't really produced at all. So we've been lucky that gas prices dropped to the point where they're at now. So we are going to cap these two and then remove the surface equipment to a third one. It's the same company that we've been working with for years, and they're going to manage the project. There will be a state inspector on site for the entire time to verify that they are capped correctly and to meet the regulations set forth by the state.
Any questions from committee members? Any questions from council members? Councilman Malik?
Thank you. Mr. Little, I know these are 3 down by the water reclamation facility. How many other city wells are there?
Well, there's 16 total down at water reclamation, okay? I would have to get you a list of how many other city wells we have. The change between the ones down at WRF and where we have some up at our water plant in Kent or Geauga County is when we drilled these, we own them and manage them. That's why we're responsible for capping them. Anything we have done since, I don't know how many years it's been, maybe 10, they're operated on our land. We're paid a royalty, but we don't have the responsibility when they quit producing to cap them off like these. So it's a little bit different, but I'll get you how many we have.
Thank you.
Any other questions from any other council members? No, okay, can I get a motion for suspension of the rules?
I'll make a motion to suspend the rules.
I have a
Second.
motion from Councilman Lombardo and a second from Councilman Sworsky. All in favor? Aye.
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 Those against? The ayes have it. Our last piece is an ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to apply for a loan, execute necessary documents, and enter into a water pollution control loan fund, WPCLF, agreements with the Ohio Environmental Protection Agency, Ohio EPA, and the Ohio Water Development Authority, OWDA, for the planning of Northside sewer separation and conveyance program management on behalf of the city and declaring an emergency. Mr. Leto?
Thank you, Madam Chairman, members of the committee. I'm sure most of you have heard us talk about the Northside project. Now that the Ohio Canal Interceptor Tunnel is complete, the next big project is North Hill, which in our consent decree is a 24-foot diameter tunnel. We are going through the process right now to do a separation, which is better environmental benefit, not drilling another tunnel. So this piece of legislation will allow us to gain a loan at 0% interest to do the modeling, the engineering, all the testing, which we've began doing. Councilman Lombardo's helped us make contacts with residents, with some of the monitoring equipment we've put on. some of the meters we've put in the sewers. So it's going very well. We look to have an announcement later this fall on the elimination of the tunnel and going with the separation project.
Okay. Any questions from committee members? Councilman Sworsky?
Just briefly summarize what the separation project is, please.
So what we're doing currently, if you start at Front Street, just up from the Gorge Dam where the old Ohio Edison coal plant was, that's Front Street just down from Cuyahoga Falls Avenue. That's where Rack 35 is. And it pretty much goes along the trail, parallels Riverside, and ends up down on Cuyahoga Street. So a separation project is we will go up in those neighborhoods, and there's 4 major racks, 32, 33, 32 being on Howard Street, close to Euler. 33 is in the neighborhood, pretty much where North Main at the high level bridge there. 34 is if you were, let's say it's Stonehenge, everybody knows where Stonehenge is on Cuyahoga Falls Avenue, went straight to Riverside, that neighborhood. And then 35 is the largest neighborhood. It's down by Swenson's, and it goes all the way up Patterson, all the way to Glenwood Avenue. It goes under Route 8, and it has that area on Home Avenue from Talmadge Avenue all the way to Cuyahoga Falls. So a separation project is currently all your sanitary sewers from your residential homes or commercial businesses go into the sewer system. Well, once they get out in the street, all the stormwater, all the inlets, all your downspouts, any stormwater, it goes into the same pipe. And that's the way all these systems were designed. So a day like today, no problem at all. Everything that goes in that pipe goes right to the plant for treatment. Nothing overflows to the river. Now, if we get a thunderstorm, all that rainwater from the downspouts or from the street would go in those inlets, and it's a huge pipe. But once it gets to what we call the rack, it isn't able to handle all that water, and it was designed, it flows right into the river, untreated. So what we're doing is we're doing an analysis, says, can we leave that big pipe for the storm sewers and just add a new sanitary pipe? Or do we leave that big pipe for sanitary only, which it would never overflow, and then put all new storm sewers in? So that's the evaluation. And it might be piecemeal. We might take this street, we might take Lexington and put a new storm sewer in, but we might look at down the street at Big Falls, and that might get a new sanitary sewer. So that's the evaluation we're doing now. And the end goal is to have the same environmental benefit and better than this tunnel is going to achieve to reduce the number of overflows into the river. We've had great success so far with our projects. Councilwoman Connor over there in Goodyear Heights, the RAC 1011 project, which has gone on fairly well. The end of the year is our consent decree. We should be putting that online within 2 weeks. So 5 months ahead of schedule. So things are going well. I know the tunnel was delayed, but it's been operating fantastic since we put it into operation. So that's a long answer for a short question. Sorry, Councilman.
No, it's a good answer. It's a good answer. So we're getting environmental benefits, but also some cost savings by doing these kind of projects.
That's what we're looking at. And an example of mixing green in there, if you look at Aqueduct, we took that storm water and we took that storm water off of the street. We passed it through bioswales and we held that water back in a larger pipe underground and let that water absorb in the ground. And then once it gets to that capacity, it will go back into the system. But by designing these things to let the ground absorb this water before it just goes straight into the pipe and down to the rack, we're able to reduce the number of overflows to achieve that. And, down at the dog park, if any of you have time to go down there, we put that bridge conveyance across the river. We got rid of that little low head dam in the river, so there's no more impediment there. There was supposed to be a big concrete basin at the bottom of Euler Hill. That's not there anymore. That was purpose to do a green project. The grasses come in beautifully. And I mean, I know you guys can appreciate it. It's kind of sometimes hard to get people to understand this was going to be a big, ugly concrete basin that isn't there anymore.
Right.
So,
That might have had odors to also.
well, it could have, but I mean, just the aesthetics of the whole thing.
Right.
So,
Right. Plus, we're not paying for building that.
plus we're not paying for, well, we did have to build the pipe and do all the separation though. But a benefit by doing separation is when you open the street, the people will get a brand new street. Okay. We will definitely, if we're going to open the street, we're going to take out the lead services, the water line, if there are any. We'll remove those and do that at the same time. So it's all in all, it's better for the residents.
Very good. Very good, Mr. Lovell.
Any other questions from council or committee members? Seeing there aren't any more questions, can I get a motion for suspension of the rules?
Motion
I'll
for
make a
suspension.
motion. Yep. And I'll second that.
I have a motion from Councilman Sworsky and a second from Councilman Lombardo. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Those against? The ayes have it. We have nothing else coming before us, so we are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you. Public
next-
utilities. Oh, go ahead.
So our next meeting is public safety. Those members are Kamer, Samples, Swirsky, Malik, and McKittrick. And you can start your committee meeting whenever you're ready, Chairman Kamer.
Thank you, Sarah. I appreciate that. First, we'll need to make the motion and vote to suspend all council rules that require in-person meetings and in-person voting before conducting this meeting. Can I get a motion for that, please?
So
So
moved.
moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, moving forward, I do need a motion to approve the minutes from our last meeting, please.
So
So
moved.
moved. Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second by Malik. All in favor? Aye.
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 Anybody opposed? All right, thank you. All right, moving forward, we do have one new piece in front of us, and it's an ordinance authorizing the mayor to apply for funding from the 2020 Coronavirus Emergency Supplemental Funding, other known as CESF program administered through the U.S. Department of Justice to provide funding for costs associated with preparing for and responding to the coronavirus public health emergency, authorizing an agreement for the acceptance and expenditure of grant funding consistent with the CESF program and declare an emergency. And today, I believe we have Carol from the Planning and Research Unit over at the Police Department joining us. Hello, Carol.
Hello, everyone. I hope you're having a good afternoon. This was $403,225 that were allocated specifically to the City of Akron Police Department to address anything that's related to preparing for, preventing, and responding to the coronavirus. So we are able to do that retroactively as well, back to, I believe it's January 20th. Which means any expenses that we had related to overtime where people were searching for PPE, developing new traffic patterns, that is we'll be able to get refunded for that to some extent. And then going forward, it's a 2-year grant. We put in $164,580 to cover overtime and fringe, in addition to all the efforts that the officers and supervisors have to do to prepare for COVID. There's also the issue of if there are absences, those spots are going to have to be filled with overtime staff. So that's where that cost comes from. We have delayed the training for new recruits. And it's not going to happen this year as expected. So that means that it's possible that our list will not be usable and we'll have to do new background checks for that. It kind of depends on how people, whether we're able to get an extension on that list or not. But in addition to that, the training is going to have to be in a different location more than likely, or it's going to have to be done in shifts so that we can maintain social distancing between the cadets. And the rest is for PPE. We basically, I got information from those that were acquiring PPE of what a 3-month supply was, and then just put in a year's worth of supplies that's in this funding.
Okay. All right, thank you. I appreciate that, Carol. Let me see if we have any questions from any committee members. I don't have any questions, but I see Councilman Malik. He's got a question. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Ms. McCullough, for this information. I just had 2 small questions. Is there an estimate on the cost so far from APD related to responding to COVID-19? And then second, do we know how many officers have had to quarantine over the last few months as a result of COVID-19?
I don't have either of those numbers handy, but I could get them to you. I know that somebody is tracking those, but I don't have them in front of me.
Thanks so much. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Councilman. Good question. Any other council members on the committee? Any other council members? All right, I think we're okay. I guess with that, can I get a motion to suspend the rules on this?
Motion for suspension of the rules with the
Second.
I have a motion from Councilman Malik and a second from Councilwoman Samples. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, thank you, everyone. With that, I think we'll move with suspension of the rules and then we'll adjourn.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Okay. Our next committee today is Public Utilities and Green Committee. Those council members are Swirsky, Freeman, Connor, Samples, and McKittrick. And you can call your committee to order whenever you're ready, Councilman Swirsky.
Okay. I'd like to call the meeting to order. It looks like everybody's here. First thing we need to do is I need a motion to suspend all council rules that require in-person meetings or voting.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, and I need approval of the previous meetings minutes. Do I have a motion for that?
Motion to approve.
And a second?
Second.
Okay, we have one new piece of legislation before us, and Mr. Little's here to talk more about it, but I'll read it into the record. It's an ordinance authorizing the purchasing agent to enter into a contract or contracts with Milestone Solutions, LLC, to purchase video surveillance software licensing for use at the Akron water plant and declaring an emergency. Mr. Little.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Up at the water plant, this is a 5-year software upgrade to our video surveillance. This not only will let us utilize the advancement in security features, it is the same software that we pretty much use throughout all of our video surveillance or just video cameras throughout the city. So this is just to put us in line with all other IT video we have, and it is a 5-year agreement.
Okay, so it's basically for security.
Yes.
Concerns. It's not monitoring any of the treatment processes or.
No, but I mean, as the operator is there, yes, he could see if something's going on in our fresh water, but also mostly it's all for surveillance to make sure that we're not compromised.
Okay. Any other questions from committee members? Any questions from other council members who are attending? If not, then I'd like a motion for approval with suspension of the rules.
Motion to approve?
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, do we have a vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, the motion passes. We'll vote on it tonight. And unless there's something else someone would like to bring to this committee, we'll adjourn. Thank you.
Thank you.